Alright, Gaming Compute, what's up? So some changes on the interwebs. Um, who was I gonna? Where are they gonna start? Instagram now has a lives policy that they've changed. Oops, I wanted to read it. Um, I have a podcast where occasionally I don't post on Spotify because it's a little bit hard to do because for some reason I can't log in there on my cell phone, and so I have to be on my desktop to be able to post. And it makes it a little more inconvenient. So for that reason, there's a certain podcast I don't post on as often. So I started doing lives instead of posting. Yeah, I started doing Instagram lives instead. Um, there aren't a lot of people on the Instagram at all, and that's fine. I don't really mind. But it said, it said before that it was gonna start making it unavailable for people who want to post lives if you don't have 1,000 followers or more. And yesterday when I was trying to go live, because I was like, let me not wait till Friday, because I was usually doing Fridays. I was like, let me just go live midweek. So it was Wednesday. I decided to try to go live. Couldn't go live. It said your account is no longer eligible for live. We changed the requirements to use this feature. Only public accounts with 1,000 followers or more will be able to create live videos. And then it had the option that said about live and then the option to close that message. And then I noticed when you go on the desktop version, I don't get that message about going live, but it makes you have to connect like a streaming service that you're gonna use. One of my friends was recommending using um, Twitch. I had at one point tried to use Kick, but OBS Studio, for some reason, I don't know what I'm doing wrong. If it's either my computer isn't capable or I'm doing something wrong, but I want to say it's me doing something wrong. OBS Studio would show that it would visually show me and it would say that like the sound is being captured. It would show myself on the video, but that feed was not what was showing on Kick. Kick would have a black screen. I can't remember if it had audio or not. But I remember trying to change to like different drivers or whatever, and it wasn't really working. And I tried for a while to a point where I just kind of stopped trying because I didn't really figure it out. Um, and then my friend sends me this message that he posted. So let me read it. Well, I can't read all of it. Part of it's kind of inappropriate, but it says he writes at YouTube. So it says YouTube ends. Sorry, you put YouTube ends its company on August 13th, all in the name of child safety. But yet, since its inception in 2005, anyone could see a lot of specific. I'm not going to say exactly what that phrase says, and inappropriate content. It only took 20 years to think of the children. And so, YouTube, a lot of us, depending what you post and where you're posting from, YouTube is problematic. I try not to be like, oh, let's play the race card, let's play the minority card, but it's been proven that YouTube sets it so that their algorithms kind of bully certain people or don't provide certain what do you call it, like equal opportunity, you know, because they know it's like, well, what's making money for them, they promote it. What is maybe controversial in certain ways that might get some trouble, they kind of crack down in certain ways. I know this because I just know this. I follow enough people to know that that's how it is. I know that there are some YouTube channels that I can find a link in in the bio in Instagram. If I click on the bio in Instagram, I can find these people. It the link directs to YouTube. But if I type in their handle in YouTube, you can't find them anywhere in a search. Someone mentioned the other day something with Amazon Prime, I think. I can't remember what they were watching, but they mentioned a documentary, I think. I think it was about Megan Thee Stallion. I think that's what it was, like a documentary about her or something like that. And they were saying that, like, unless you literally type in the whole entire title, you can't find it easily on there, at least at this time when they were mentioning it. And I've noticed some things that they don't get recommended. The internet is a crazy place, and it's not equal for everybody. It's not fair for everybody. I'm not gonna say that it's like super. Uh, I mean, it is a problem, but um, yeah, I'm not gonna say that it's like super that way all the time. It just kind of depends what you're posting, if they're gonna pick on you or not. Um, there's a study that someone did. Um, he posted it on YouTube. I don't know if it was like, I don't know if they really controlled for all these variables or what, but basically this guy was doing this social media, or I guess job search um, project where he used the same resume, and all he did was change the names to either be like male or female of different cultures. So he would make one that would sound like maybe like a certain black type of name, or a white type of name, or an Asian type of name from like different cultures. I don't know how many varieties he had. And I thought he said he made one that had like pictures, like a profile picture of like different people, different races. And he found, that not all applications get treated equally on some of these on some of these job search platforms. That's one thing that kind of worries me about LinkedIn, is that there is a picture attached to a profile. It shows kind of what you look like. It shows your gender. It shows your race for the most part. It shows at least that information, to a point where people can look at your picture and be like making a decision about you working, not maybe only based on the information that you provide. People are looking at certain information, um, and not really maybe giving certain people opportunities. I mean, they're not supposed to do that necessarily, and I don't know like the percentage, and I'm not trying to be like, oh, like this race or that race or whatever. Like, that's not really the point of what I'm talking about, but it is good to recognize, for people who maybe don't recognize that it is something that a lot of us have already been putting up with, is all the mess on it on YouTube, all the banning and all that stuff. You don't get equally banned. I mean, look at topics of sexuality. Straight people can post any kind of thing that they want to post. Queer people cannot. Queer people can take the same exact topic and post about it, and that's going to get banned or not monetized or demonetized. And the straight couples can still post the same exact information and have it not get banned. That's already not fair. Um, a lot of black content creators, maybe other races too, but I've heard it from the black ones. I don't know if I've heard it from other ones, but it probably applies to a lot of different cultures of people. That when people start comparing brand deals, certain brands give way more money to certain content creators of certain races compared to others. It's interesting when these conversations start happening and you start seeing that. I remember there was a video with YouTube. I think it was with Uber or Lyft. I think Uber, where they put maybe 4 or 6 cell phones, I guess, of people in the same, I guess they all had like the same rating. I don't know what variables they controlled for, if they were all like the same gender, all the same ethnicities or what. Like, it was only a few. They didn't have like a sample of like 100 something people or whatever, but they used a few people to demonstrate this. And I remember the video, but I don't know what any of these were. I'm just talking from memory. Um, they had maybe like, let's call it like five males, I think, um, in like what looked like maybe like an office. They were all standing at a table on one side of the table. They all turned on their Uber apps at the same time. So they were literally all in the same location. So you would have thought they would have gotten equal opportunity. I don't remember what the findings were, but I do remember that it wasn't equal. That not all, like certain drivers were getting more opportunities than others, maybe. And I don't remember the specifics of why, but guys, algorithms can be dangerous. I'm just trying to put it out there. Um, People want to trust in all these algorithms. People want to trust in, social media platforms. I've been slowly migrating off of the major platforms onto smaller ones because I don't trust the bigger ones anymore. After what they did with TikTok, remember that like 24 hours or whatever, where you couldn't use TikTok or CapCut, um, just because like there wasn't really like a real reason behind it, like they said there was, but I guess there wasn't. And then they're like, oh, you can't use it anymore. Like, just kidding. Like, we're back up and running. And people were like making major moves based on the fact that this was gonna stop being available. Everyone kind of thought, oh, it's completely over. It's gonna be 100% done. They never said it's gonna be like by tomorrow it's gonna be back up. Nobody said that initially, and then it came back up, and people were like, oh. And then there was a while. I think it's still like this. Um, I don't know. Maybe it isn't. Like I think there was a point where I couldn't get the app on my phone again. Like I wasn't able to like re-download it or something. And there were some kind of like fake videos that were showing people how to do it that didn't seem to work. Um, I can't remember if that's what it was. That if it was like a TikTok, like you couldn't get the TikTok app on your phone. You could only use it like on a desktop version or something. I don't remember if that's what the issue was. There was some issue that was like that, but I don't specifically recall. But the reason why I'm saying all this is, don't put all your trust in one basket on the internet. It's not a good idea. These companies do what they want when they feel like it, according to what works for them. A lot of people get screwed by it. If you can't keep up, you can't keep up. If the change works in your favor, good for you. The next change might not work in your favor. Some people are able to figure it out, some people aren't. Some people get frustrated, some people don't. I ranted in the wrong place about Windows 11. I was ranting about that this morning elsewhere. I was just like, Windows 11 is a mess. I get a bunch of error messages. I can't. There's something wrong with the Bluetooth. There's something wrong with the restarting of the computer. There's something wrong with the storage. Something with Google Chrome taking up too much storage. I got some other message the other day. I can't remember. I think I screenshotted it. I tend to screenshot error messages so I can look into them later. Let me see if I can find what it said. It said it was on Google Chrome. Performance issue alert. These tabs are using extra resources to improve your performance. These tabs are using extra resources to improve your performance. Let Chrome make them inactive. I've never seen that before. That it gave me a notification that certain tabs are using extra resources. One of them was Google Drive that I had open, and one of them was Spotify that I had open. I'm like, how much space, how much resources can they be using? Like, what's going on here? But I've noticed I can't keep multiple Chrome tabs open. I get, things crash out sometimes when I do that. And all these things had no issues before when I was using Windows 10. All these issues started arising with Windows 11. And I think they're making it in October of 2025 that you have to have Windows 11, otherwise you can't like get the newest updates and everything. So a lot of these platforms, operating systems, whatever it is, they kind of change things to a point where you don't really have a lot of say. The golden age of having a lot of say is kind of like gone. I'll talk about this forever probably because I'm old now, and like that's what old people do. They keep ranting about the same, like back in my day. But I'm literally at that time in my life where I'm like, back in my day. I was just talking to a friend about this. I was saying, like, remember when they used to have those laptops? They weren't real laptops, but you would get them for like a kid. It was like a toy, but it wasn't like a laptop. It didn't have like an operating system with like, I think it had a full keyboard, but it didn't have an operating system. It wasn't like Windows or something, or anything like that. And it didn't have like a full screen like for the monitor or like a touch screen or anything. Touchscreens are like a lot newer than this type of toy that I'm speaking about. But the toy, it looked like a laptop, opened like a laptop. Everything about it appeared like a laptop pretty much, except for the fact that the screen wasn't normal. You could only really see like a little box on the screen. It was like a little box in the middle. It was basically a handheld video game that was like simulating ish a type of computer. I remember, I don't think it had pictures. I don't think it had color. But they were like fake laptops. I had one. My brother had a different type. But they were really cool, and it was a toy. But I guess if you think like handheld video game, that's kind of what it was. I can't remember if you had any kind of disc or something that you would put in it. I don't remember having anything like that. But it was basically a fake laptop that had prompts on it and things, and you could like click to do different stuff. I don't think you could connect it to a printer or internet or anything like that. But it was a toy that you could play on, and it basically simulated like using the computer, but it basically was like a handheld video game that would basically, how those are like, they're games that are programmed to do like maybe one thing, like football, like those little football games, or the little games like that, like football, or maybe it would have three games in one or something like that. So it was kind of around the time when those kind of handheld games, not necessarily Game Boy and that kind of stuff, but they were like pre-programmed games that you couldn't really buy new games for it. It was all built into one system. And I remember having that game, that computer thing, and I liked it. I really enjoyed playing with that thing. It was one of my favorite things for like a really long time. I don't know what happened to it. I probably broke it or took it apart or something. I don't even remember. But I love that thing. I really did like it a lot. But I guess simulation is the wrong word. It wasn't. You couldn't really learn to use that and then be like, okay, I'm gonna get on a laptop and it's actually gonna work like this. Like it. I think only maybe like the typing might have been the only thing that would have been able to be similar because the keyboard layout was the same, I guess, and you could have technically typed on there. I don't remember what it did. I don't even remember what those types of toys were called, but I'm kind of thinking, I'm kind of playing with this idea. I'm like, because I learned about, through some of the, I don't know if you call them Hasidic or Haredi, Jewish cultures, they kind of have a bit of an issue with computers. It's been going on for a while. They had this Internet of Sifa years ago that I love. That is one of my favorite videos on the internet. It's like probably 3-4 hours long, where they're just like at this big stadium, and there's this big conference where they're talking about the dangers of the internet. And this video is probably like 15 years old or something. It's a really cool video. A lot of it's in Yiddish and stuff, and like of course it's like a religious thing. But I can kind of relate to that. And with that culture, a lot of those Jewish groups have what's called I don't know if they're really if it's the official name, but they're called kosher phones. And what a kosher phone is it's a phone that might look like a smartphone, but they basically changed it so it doesn't fully do every single thing. So you can either take it into someone who basically operates on the phone and makes your phone a kosher phone, or you can buy the pre-made devices that don't have full access to everything, or you're allowed, I think within certain, all the groups are like so different. I don't really know what the rules around use, but what I heard is you're allowed to use flip phones. And some people mentioned, you could use maybe like an MP3 player, but you couldn't have an SD card where you can switch it out. Or if you did have an SD card, you'd have to like glue it in so that it can't come out. Like you weren't allowed to like swap out music. You were only allowed to like listen. You could have an MP3 player if it was only playing one thing, and you had to get that thing, I guess, approved. Or they have like internet cafes where you can go and use the computers, and it's available for people to use. And yeah, it's just basically available for people to use. But they don't have everything available. And I think you can set up your devices with it. I think these all cost money though, because I looked into it and I was like, they all cost. But you could basically make your computer become a kosher device, or your smartphone, or you can buy the devices, or just get like the downgraded, non-smart devices that don't really do anything anyways. But I kind of look to communities that have this limitation. I'm not saying I agree fully with like information control, or people like dictating to others what they're doing. And when they say kosher phone, I don't know if it's really religiously kosher. Like I don't really know if it's like a rabbi or whoever would be like, this is officially this is officially kosher. Like I just think that's the only term I've heard them go by is kosher phones. I don't know what they're actually called though. But I've seen that they have like vending machines where you can buy them, or you can buy them in a store or go into a shop, just like you would be like, oh, my phone's cracked, I need to go and get it fixed. So you go to like a phone repair shop, or like, oh, my phone needs a battery replacement because it dies too quick, so let me like get a battery replacement, and you take it to a little shop where they would do that. They could do that to your phone. There's shops like that where they can do that to your phone, to make it so it doesn't even have the options to do all of the things that you would need. I think it has like maps. You don't have anything like YouTube. You're very limited with apps. You don't have, like, you might have Google or some type of search engine. I don't know if it's specifically Google, but you might have Google, but it might ban you from searching a whole lot of types of topics. It might only allow you on certain websites or stuff for business, like you're allowed to like work. But if it's just like to hang out and play, I guess unless you're like studying religious texts or cultural information, you're not really allowed to do just like, on a kosher phone, you're probably not finding this podcast. You're probably not finding Spotify or YouTube. But I don't know, guys. Things have changed. Things have changed. The internet has changed. We're in a day and age now where there's so much change, and things are so different than what they were. And something I've been wanting to look into that I can't figure out is how people are talking about AI and ChatGPT being a problem for the environment and all these types of things. I don't know how to find the information of what amount of environmental resources is getting consumed by the amount of use that you participate in, either on your computer or or other places. But I'm kind of not too sure about some about some of the things. Like I don't fully know what to make of it. I'm just kind of like, ever since Spotify started changing a lot with podcasting, I became a lot more sensitive to the fact that a lot of platforms are changing, and I don't like it. I don't really always like it. I don't know if they're changing for the benefit of the creators at all. I haven't really fully seen that. They're definitely getting in the way of the creative processes. I find myself second guessing, recording and then being like, is that really what I wanted to say? Or is this going to get flagged in some way? Or am I violating something? It's really impacting freedom of speech. I do think if people want kids to not have access to, information that they shouldn't have, I don't think that kids should have the same devices that adults are allowed to have. It seems like it is possible to create a different device. These companies could do it if they wanted to. I think if you're under 18, you shouldn't have a classic iPhone or whatever. Or there should be an option where they have devices that are kid appropriate, where if the kids want to talk to other kids, they can talk to each other. But they shouldn't even be able to get to places like Instagram or TikTok or YouTube or whatever platforms they're getting on. They shouldn't even, they should have a phone that's almost like these kosher phones, like a phone that doesn't even allow it. Like the option isn't even there because they've already rigged it on the hardware end so that you cannot possibly do it unless you change the hardware somehow. I want that. That's what I want to see. I want to see that as an option. Maybe not roll it out and make it like a law, but I want to see that as an option. And I think that way because I don't have kids, but if I had kids, I've started thinking about this more. Not having kids, but I watched an episode of Chosen Family podcast the other day, and they kind of brought up an interesting topic. They post Wednesdays at midnight when Wednesday starts. And this newest episode that was posted, that must have been July 30th of 2025, that newest episode revealed a lot of information. I mean, Ashley Gavin, she's a comedian. She got pretty emotional in it. She was talking about some very interesting topics that have to do with internet use and how kids are ill from it. They're more mentally ill. I'm not gonna say that people are being inappropriately diagnosed with autism, Asperger's spectrum, and ADHD. I'm not gonna say that is fully what's happening, but I think when people go in to get these diagnoses, they need to start looking at internet use, online use, device use, app use, scrolling time, swiping, all that kind of stuff. They need to incorporate some of that and some of that data into the assessment, because you can get anxiety from, doom scrolling. You can develop mental health issues from chronic internet use. It can shift your brain. It can. I mean, there's proof of that. We've all known that for like ages now. I mean, there's been internet addiction in the DSM. It's been there for a while. I think people focused, I think, more on video games at first, but now there's definitely internet addiction. I'd say most of us are kind of near there, but it's socially acceptable. So like nobody's gonna be. It's almost like with cigarette use. Like people say, "Oh, I'm a smoker," but you would almost never be like, "I'm addicted to smoking. I'm an addict, smoking cigarettes or whatever." You almost never hear people use that language. They don't call themselves an addict because they're using cigarettes. They say they're a smoker. Just kind of like with the internet, like it's something that's more socially acceptable to be addicted to the internet. How many times do you go out with friends and you're at a table at a restaurant? Just count how many people keep their phones on the table. You know, how many people do that? How many people keep their phone on the table? And when they do have their phone on the table, you know, yeah, like basically that's what happens. People keep their phone on the table and they're just like, okay, my phone's on the table, and then, they check it every so often, And it's kind of like, it's understandable, but it's kind of like, sometimes I wonder, I'm like, well, we're all together. There's 4 or 5 of us in this group at this table. Who do you need to be hearing from right now? Or who do you need to check to see if they're messaging you? I mean, it's different. I guess people have their situations where it's like they have a spouse, or maybe they have a pet, or a child, or something where they're like, they need to like know in real time if somebody needs them to connect with them right away. Maybe this person has like a 15-year-old that's like at home by themselves watching movies or something, and they're out with me and other friends. This adult who's the parent of this kid or something, and then they're like, it makes sense. Okay, you're checking your phone to make sure your kid is okay. If they do contact you, you're available right away. I get that, but most of my friends don't have kids. Most of my friends don't have spouses. Some of them don't, and so it's like, and they're not working when we're hanging out. So I never say this to their face, and I'm not offended by it. But I do notice that's a shift. There was a time where you would not have your phone out. Even if you had a cell phone, you wouldn't have your phone on the table. And I remember, when my folks didn't even really know how to use the internet, or they weren't really addicted to their smartphones. And I can't tell you how many times I've had dinner with family where they're literally on a call. Like one of I remember having lunch with family, and one of my family members was literally watching a family live stream. There was some kind of, there was a situation that had happened, but they were literally watching it at dinner. It was like a Zoom live stream of some kind of a service, which was important. It was important, but it was like, do we have to watch this at dinner? I didn't want to watch it, but they were watching it, and I understood them. Or the phone rings, and they don't just let it ring or go to voicemail. they pick it up right away and talk in the middle of dinner. Like, even if it's at a restaurant, it's like they don't even excuse themselves. They'll just be sitting there at the table talking on the phone on speaker. It's like, well, maybe not speaker at a restaurant, but at home on a speakerphone. At dinner with everybody else. And then, of course, we can't all have a conversation because now this person is on their phone with somebody else. So it's like, well, now I guess we're not having a dinner conversation. We're just going to eat while you talk on the phone, and then we're all going to leave, and that's the end of dinner, or lunch or whatever it is. That wasn't happening before, Back when we all had flip phones and stuff, nobody was really Zoom calling in the middle of dinner, or watching YouTube in the middle of dinner on their own, just like, I've seen this, being out with people and they're literally watching Instagram while you're like at the bar together. And it's like, you need to watch it now? Like, you need to doom scroll now and just like get that fix, while we're out having fun. So yeah, I don't know. I'm guilty of it too. Sometimes I'm like podcasting and I'm like gonna pick up my phone. Like, I just randomly right now was thinking, oh, there's a friend that I might want to see if tomorrow they want to like go to the beach real quick or hang out at the pier. And I was literally gonna like text them right now. It's like, that can wait, like, we're in no rush. I don't even think they're awake yet. But stuff like that, like, we're getting too cyborgy, too dependent on certain platforms, mind you. But I get it. Certain platforms are easier, better. Like, Rumble exists. If you like posting videos and stuff, Rumble exists. But try using Rumble as a search engine. Goodness, even if you know what you're searching, you're hardly ever gonna find it the second time. Like, God forbid you don't save it. You might never find that video again. I've had friends tell me on Rumble, they're like, oh, like, I was watching this video about like this certain topic, and they're like, oh, it was called something like this. And I go and search the name, and I'm like, I can't even find it. Like, it's a terrible search engine. But until some of these alternative platforms improve, we're kind of stuck with the major players. It's kind of like with sports. Like, certain players get off the bench. Certain players are famous. Certain ones get, the sneaker deals. You see them on TV. You see them, like, they have a presence. And then there's certain players that, like, you don't even know their name until somebody else tells you, and then you finally see them play, and you're like, there's something that's an advantage to this person a little bit, but they're not quite LeBron James, but they're not total trash. Like, they still made the team, but maybe they should put them on the court a little bit more. I'm kind of feeling that way about some of these other platforms, where I'm like, it might be beneficial to kind of look into some of them, considering all the frustrations that we deal with. But with the AI stuff, I'm really trying to figure out if it's, I guess, helpful in any way. Or if it's damaging, to the environment. I like to know the math on that. Like, what does that look like? I tried to find the information by asking an AI. I talked to an AI program and tried to ask it, does the internet, like, basically, what does it look like when, like, how much, what is it environmentally that's getting consumed? And I guess they said it was like water, and they say it consumes too much water. And I'm like, why? And it's like, well, the bigger computers and stuff need cooling. So I kind of went down this like peeling the onion kind of like route where I was like, okay, these AI systems use a lot of computer power. The more they're being used, the more they need to be cooled. The more they need to be cooled, the more water they use. So I was like, okay, how long would it take to, I'm drinking out of like one of these 16 ounce, 16.9 ounce, water bottles, disposable water bottles. How long would it take, either time wise or data wise, to like use that much water? And so I tried to make try to talk, and of course I'm talking to AI, so it's not going to tell me the truth if it doesn't need to. But I was like, or maybe I said a gallon, maybe 16 ounces or a gallon or something. But I had like a tangible amount of water that I was like, how long would it take? And so I kind of devised this idea where I was like, well, if I'm using this specific app, the app that I was typing on, if I'm using this app and I'm typing onto this app, and what I'm typing is, what would you call it? I'm typing, I gotta turn the fan on. Alright, so if I go to use an AI app, right, and I'm typing into this AI app, I'm typing into it, 12 lines of text. If I type 12 lines of text, how much water does that consume? Or how long, I guess, how much text could I type on that AI app to consume 16 ounces worth of water, or 1 gallon worth of water? And I don't think it gave me an answer that seemed problematic. Because text, I guess maybe text doesn't really use that much space compared to like video. So AI created video versus AI created text. I didn't get an answer, is what I'm trying to say. It didn't really answer me in a way that specified or showed that AI uses that much water, but I also don't know. I'm like, well, this is a common theme. So I'm like, well, why do people say that then? Where is the source that states this water usage thing? And it kind of couldn't really fully give me that information. It was saying it was like in a book or something. And I've screenshotted certain references that people talked about of certain books, but I never committed them to memory or went back to them. So I do think there's something in it. But I'd like to know the information as far as like the details, because people can be like, oh, it uses resources. But it's like, well, how much resources is it using? Like, is it draining the ocean? Like, how much, is it draining a pool, like, every day? Like, how much water is being actually consumed? Like, how much resources are actually being consumed? You know? But humans are good at the creativity and design that it takes to kind of like be innovative and do really cool stuff, but as humans are not that good at. Um, healing the earth, healing the environment. Um, not exploiting other people. There's a certain type of person that is kind of the method that they use. Is human exploitation of some kind to either make more money or make more products or be more productive, or get more for free. Humans, we have this like greed. So it is easier to overlook if something is really messing up the environment. It can be easier to overlook it if you want that. There was a lot of viral information going on for a while about different displaced groups in Africa because of, you know, the resources that are getting taken just to make the computers and the devices that we use. You know, we still need natural resources. Um, but yeah, those are just kind of the ideas that have been kind of on my mind with stuff with the internet, all the changes and all the variation. I'm trying to move things in a direction that's like something that works better for me than not. Um, but I don't really know. I haven't really landed in a specific spot with it all yet. But that's my little rant for the day. As we're coming into August, I'm hoping people have some cool plans of things that they want to do. Uh, and um, yeah, that's kind of all I really have to say. Thanks for listening.